Naoto is a boy who has devoted his entire life to taking care of his younger sister. One day, while they're working in a small garden, an old childhood friend suddenly reappears, bringing back memories of a friendship that had ended on a bitter note. The story begins with a 10-year-old Naoto walking through a bright field of sunflowers. There, he meets a cheerful girl named Sutsuki. They exchange shy smiles, marking the beginning of a connection that would later change everything. Years pass, and we find Naoto in high school. His friends tease him, asking why he never joins any clubs. He simply explains that after classes, he has to look after his little sister. His friends laugh, assuming he's using that as an excuse to avoid hanging out, or worse, that he's weirdly obsessed with his sister. Naoto ignores their teasing, as he's long used to such remarks. Later, his close friend Toku calls him aside to talk seriously. He invites Naoto to join an unofficial club they're forming. Naoto likes the idea, but declines, saying he needs to take care of his sister and maybe find a part-time job. Toku understands, as he also looks after his aging grandfather. Soon, we meet one of the first girls of the story, Ishihara, a kind and responsible classmate. She asks Naoto if he'll attend the committee meeting, but he apologizes, saying he already promised to spend the evening with his sister. Ishihara, being considerate, tells him she'll bring the meeting notes to his house later. Naoto's entire world revolves around his 10-year-old sister, Suzu. After preparing dinner, he begins cleaning up when their relative Tamayo appears, an older woman who owns the house they live in, accompanied by her cat, Kiko. Tamayo eyes Naoto critically, saying he's starting to look more like his father every day. Still, she adds that she's glad Suzu takes after her mother, even if she's short like her. After scolding him, Tamayo hands Naoto an envelope of money, his allowance. When Naoto counts it, he notices there's extra inside. Tamayo explains that Suzu's birthday is coming up soon and tells him to buy something nice for her. She laughs, joking that it feels like she's giving money to her own big brother before leaving the room with a sly grin. Naoto finds her odd. She rarely leaves her room, doesn't seem to have a job, yet always has money. No one really knows what she does for a living. The next morning, Suzu asks her brother to help braid her hair. He gently tells her she needs to start learning to be independent because one day he might not be there to take care of her. But Suzu insists that he'll always protect her, unless he goes away like their parents, who died 2 years ago. Since then, the siblings have moved from one relative's home to another until they finally settled in Aunt Tamayo's small house just a month ago. On the way to school, Naoto asks Suzu what she wants for her birthday. She says she'll decide after class, and they plan to go shopping together. But Naoto can't shake off a strange feeling. Someone seems to be watching him. Before heading into school, he warns Suzu to go straight home after classes. At school, Naoto notices a beautiful classmate named Chihara and instantly develops a crush, though he knows she's way out of his league. His friend Toku tells him that a famous modeling agency once approached her, but she turned them down, claiming they weren't at her level, just like her mother. Then, the boys mention that a new transfer student has joined another class. Her name, Sutsuki Tachibana. Hearing that name makes Naoto freeze. He recognizes it instantly. When Sutsuki sees him, she smiles and confirms she remembers him from 6 years ago, back in the sunflower fields. Naoto glares at her and says he'll never forgive her for what happened back then, for destroying his parents' room. She apologizes and says she's been trying to find him ever since, but Naoto brushes her off, saying, "Not now. I don't have time." Sutsuki complains that he wasn't this cold to her before and insists he listen. But when he refuses, she suddenly hugs him tightly, saying she won't let go until he does. Embarrassed, Naoto finally agrees, but asks her to release him first. As soon as she does, he bolts away, but she chases after him. Meanwhile, Suzu is walking home when she notices a family working in a small garden. The sight reminds her of the garden her own family once had years ago. Suddenly, Naoto appears out of nowhere, grabs her hand, and drags her home while shouting for her to hurry because Sutsuki is still following them. Once they're safely inside, Suzu asks who that woman was. Naoto tells her not to worry and forget about it. Suzu then announces that she's decided what she wants for her birthday: a garden. Naoto smiles but tells her they don't have enough space for that. Suzu innocently replies, "Then buy me one." Naoto can only sigh. Things are definitely getting complicated.
But of course, things are never that simple. Sagi finally tells them they can use the backyard for their plants, but once them, it's a total disaster. Overgrown weeds, broken stuff everywhere. It looks like no one has touched it in ages. Basically a pigsty. So yeah, they'll need to put in some serious effort to make it usable. Just then, Satsuki shows up carrying a barbecue grill. Nato gets defensive, steps in front of his little sister and tells her to leave them alone if she's just here to cause trouble. But before he can even finish, boom! She suddenly jumps on him and plants a huge kiss right on his lips. Bro is completely frozen. Even worse, his tongue is halfway in shock. And if that wasn't enough, guess who saw it? Suzu, Tamayo, and even Sai. Total embarrassment unlocked. Sai gives him half an hour to get out of her sight, and Nattu just stands there like, bruh, why me? Later, he wakes up in his room, guilt all over his face. Sai storms in and warns him if he ever uses her yard again to entertain friends, he's officially kicked out. And honestly, fair enough. Poor Bai's luck is just cursed. Next day, Nattu takes Suzu to school, trying to explain the whole mess, but Suzu having none of it. She's furious and tells him to just leave him alone. But Satsuki notices how close they're talking and immediately gets jealous. Without saying a word, she walks up, grabs Shihara's chest right in front of Nato and goes, "Let's see if this is what you like." Poor Shihara is shocked. Nato is panicking and everyone around is just speechless. He drags Satsuki to the rooftop for a serious talk. He's like, "What the hell was that?" But Satsuki acts clueless. She's like, "Which thing? The kiss, the squeeze, or destroying your garden?" Dead. Then she pulls out the barbecue grill and hands it to him, saying, "This, I've been wanting to return it for years." That's when we learn the backstory. 6 years ago, when Nato was just a kid working in his family's inn, he met Satsuki. They became close friends. But one day, her mother's daughter, basically Satsuki herself, showed up and trashed the garden, ruined everything. After that, she disappeared completely. Until now. Nato, confused, asks why she did that. Satsuki avoids the question but sincerely apologizes. She even says, "If you want, I'll repay you with my body." Nato immediately panics. Wait, what? But before he can process, she teases him again and says he's hopeless if he still doesn't understand why a girl kisses a boy. Then she walks off disappointed, leaving Nato feeling like the villain in his own story. Later that day, Shihara doesn't even look him in the eyes. Nato's guilt level is at max. He just sighs thinking, all this drama just because of one kiss, and it wasn't even mine. Then out of nowhere, he runs into Satsuki again. This time she's carrying Suzu who hurt her knee. Nato immediately assumes the worst and goes, "Put her down or I'll..." But Suzu stops him saying, "Chill, she just tripped and Satsuki helped her." Turns out, Suzu even remembers Satsuki from their childhood and invites her to help with the garden. As they head home, Satsuki happily agrees, saying she'll be useful. Nato's surprised when she mentions that the old garden actually used to belong to her family. Just then, Shihara appears again and they plan to meet later for a committee shopping trip. The next day, Nato and Shihara go shopping together since everyone else couldn't make it. For a moment, it feels like a cute little date. Meanwhile, back home, Suzu is working in the garden with Satsuki but starts feeling jealous again, wondering if her brother has completely forgotten about her. Turns out Shihara had asked Nato to help buy some stuff for the committee, and he couldn't say no. Suzu, however, reminds him that he'd already promised to help her in the garden. Luckily, Satsuki steps in and offers to help Suzu instead, giving Nato the green light. At the supermarket, Shihara uses the chance to ask Nato, "So, are you dating that blonde girl?" He nervously says no, that she's just his childhood friend. He's this close to confessing his real feelings to Shihara, but loses the courage and swallows his words. Meanwhile, the girls show up at the supermarket too, and Suzu immediately spots her brother with Shihara. She's like, "So you ditched me for this?" Jealous little sister mode activated.
To make up for missing Suzu's help earlier, Nato buys her a barbecue grill in her favorite color, pink. Cute move, right? But from afar, Shihara sees this little scene and quietly walks away, trying to hide her disappointment. Before leaving, she softly tells him, "I really like how you take care of your sister. You're amazing." But halfway through her sentence, she realizes she basically said, "I love you" on their first outing. Umbo. She panics and quickly covers it up with something random about tea or her dog. Classic, awkward anime moment. Later, Nato notices Shihara is gone and rushes back home to look for her. When he reaches the backyard, Satsuki is waiting there. She teasingly asks how his date went. Nato insists it wasn't a date, it's just that the others couldn't make it. But Satsuki, being Satsuki, smirks and says he should take her on one next time. Nato rolls his eyes. He knows she's just trying to get a reaction out of him. Still, he notices something. The backyard actually looks pretty amazing now. The plants are coming alive, the place has totally transformed. Seems like everyone's hard work is finally showing results. Then, Satsuki tells him he should go change since his clothes are dirty from gardening. But Nato, being super shy around girls, tries to stop her when she comes closer, and of course, they both trip. He ends up falling right on top of her. And that's exactly when Tamayo walks in. Perfect timing, right? She glares and shouts, "That's it. I've had enough. Pack your bags." Poor Nato's life is just one misunderstanding after another.